We're on.
Yay.
Hi, I'm Karina. I'm a Leo with a Leo rising and a Virgo moon. And I call myself your lucid living coach. And my business is called Lucid Living Movement. And that's my website.
Nice. Yeah, so I am Urania. I am an Aquarius sun, which is going to be very fitting for this conversation. Scorpio rising, Capricorn moon, and you could say my brand, I'm recognized and known as Urania Universe. So here we are.
And I came across her on she was hosting a workshop on NCGR. And I had every intention to go, signed up, and I wanted to meet you. You looked like super cool, like my kind of friend, and I missed it. And so I reached out. Glad I did.
Nice. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, that actually happened. I had a few people asking about the replay. They were like, oh, there's no replay. And it's like, yeah, you can access it. So but it's not automatic. So, but that's cool though. There was I was happy to see a lot of people curious, like aside from friends, of course, and I'm like, hey, check this out, Astro friends. There were a lot of people there that, that I got to meet some new faces. So that was really cool.
It's really great for like connecting and networking because we're learning off of each other. There's so much to learn. And astrology is such a great tool to help kind of navigate life and energies. And that's what we're here to maybe enlighten and spark other people's minds to maybe look into their own chart and how this matrix is working for them.
Right.
And with them, I love that you have a Capricorn moon. So crazy. Like my two closest friends growing up, Aquarius sun, Cap moon. And I'm
wow.
Yeah, but I'm the Leo opposite.
Yeah.
And a Virgo, which is so trining those earth.
Right. Yeah.
And then the opposition.
Definitely
learn.
And I would say that we're all, I'm like looking at the like the astrology right now. So as far as the moon phases, and so you are like a waxing crescent moon phase, I believe. And then your friends, including myself, we're on the other side, the waning crescent. I don't know. It always like the crescents always that phase always tends to stand out for me. When people mention their moons. It's like when their sun and moon are close, and it's like this energy of stillness, but either you're like coming in, like you're in the dark and coming into the light, or you're already in that point where you've come from the dark and you're in the light. Like, so there's that waxing energy. But no, that's just really, really interesting. So
that is interesting.
I'm glad you like my Capricorn.
Yeah.
Because I have had challenges with it, but I embrace it now. So I embrace all my Capricorn. But Capricorn is absolutely a strong, like, teacher of many things.
Yeah, with the moon placement.
The moon is.
And I think another reason is my Venus is in Cancer. So I have Venus opposing
that's nice.
Their moon, which is nice.
Yeah.
I'm very like fun and sensitive, which, could be very like, I'm not going to show you.
It takes a lot. Like
suck it up.
You have to work to see it. Yeah. Like there's like literally just a natural barrier when it comes
with
to
the
emotions.
Aquarius on top of it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But
and it's like there's with the moon too. Yeah. It's like a natural or a really like a natural lesson of vulnerability. Cause I would say that was my biggest lesson with my Capricorn moon is allowing myself to be vulnerable, especially in front of other people. Like I'm the queen of crying in the shower. I've gotten a lot better. Now I'll just let myself cry. But at times I would literally wait until later that night, or I'm just like, I have to take a shower, But that's my space of also clearing. So, it's a whole thing.
I feel it. I do it. You know, I think as I gotten older, I've definitely embraced that. When I was younger, when I was in, you know, college, even, you know, throughout my whole 20s, I'd cry maybe twice a year. And now that I'm older, I can cry once a week, like no problem.
Right?
Like sometimes, you know, for a moment, because I did go through a lot of transformation. Speaking of Pluto, is I lost a dog in 2019, my dad in 2020, and then my aunt, which was like my sister, because we lived together for a lot of my life, she passed last year. So it was like a lot of emotion and having to embrace that too, because even though Cancer is such a watery, intuitive, like nurturing sign, it's the shell. It's a hard shell. And mine's in the 12th house, so you don't see some of that. And it's very similar to Capricorn because they are partners, right? So they can be shut off, shut you out. And, you know, especially if you've been hurt, you know, so.
Yeah. It's like, even like processing emotions, I feel the similarity between Cancer and Capricorn is like, they feel probably the most comfortable and most safe, like doing that within their own privacy, within their own, say, like cocoon or shell, whatever it is, like in their own comfort. And so if there's someone that has strong Capricorn or strong Cancer moon, Capricorn moon, and they're showing that emotion in front of you, that says a lot, right? Like that they feel very safe in that space. So I definitely see you pointing that out. Yeah, there is some strong similarities between the two for sure.
And same with the Leo Aquarius, because Leos were very, you know, eccentric in our own way, and we like bright colors, right? And Aquarius, even Aquarius risings, you'll see them either have like tattoos or like hair colors, right? Like pink or purple, or piercings, or even bright, very like clothes that you would find more at a thrift store, like something like that, like on the shelf,
like different patterns. I'm gonna say my Aquarian quirkiness is like, it's different, like it's not obvious, and I feel that
Scorpio rising,
you know, it's the Scorpio rising. I have Saturn and Scorpio right on my ascendant. I'm very like Saturn, and there's a lot of Scorpio in there too. And so you get a lot of that and a lot of Capricorn. So the Aquarius is in there, but
so is your sun in your fourth?
Sun is in my fourth,
Oh, okay. So you do have expressions of Cancer too.
Yeah. So I'm definitely, I'm unique in my own way, but I love that we're having this conversation as Sun in Aquarius and Sun in Leo, like that. I'm really fascinated and interested in this conversation.
Yeah. So great. I have a question for you. I am Pluto Libra generation. What generation are you?
Pluto, Pluto Aquarius, Pluto Scorpio. Yep, 4 degrees. Okay.
So is your Pluto in your 12th house or your first house?
It's in my first. Yeah. Well, if you're using whole sign houses, it's in my first. If you are going to use like Porphyry or Placidus, it's in my 12th. Really? So it depends on how you look at it. Yeah.
So is Pluto on your
it's at 4 degrees. It's at 4 degrees of Scorpio, and my ascendant is 27 degrees of Scorpio. So
okay. So because you said Saturn's on your ascendant, so is Pluto like right there?
So Saturn's at 26. So if you use,
I use Placidus.
Actually, can I share my screen?
Yeah. Let's look.
And then, you know, everyone can see. We're just doing the organic thing here.
Yeah.
Let me
this is our first time really connecting, so I'm getting to know you.
Right? Like we're just like,
let's know what more to talk about with this Pluto Aquarius, you know?
Yeah.
And then it'll help other people that maybe have our risings. I think it would be fun to kind of talk just about like Pluto on the
Okay, so, you know, I have some extra things in here, like the lot of spirit, of course. But this is using whole sign house system, right? So my Pluto is up here at 4 degrees. And I don't know if I can make this full screen, but that's okay. So yeah,
you're
Pluto's
a 0
here
Aquarius too.
Yeah, I'm literally, look at all
so
this.
Pluto's right opposing your, on your sun.
Almost, or yeah, squaring, yeah. Or Pluto right now is on my sun.
Your sun.
Pluto, and that was the thing when I did the presentation for NCGR, right, San Francisco, that was on my birthday on January 20th. And that was the day that Pluto moved into Aquarius, like the day I did the presentation on my birthday.
Happy freaking birthday.
Yeah.
How amazing is that? A great way to start off your solar return. You know, transformation, transmuting, stepping into
and I'm used to it, you know, with all the Scorpio, you know, that doesn't, the intensity, if you see here, like I have Saturn right on my ascendant, the south nodes there, like I'm used to intensity metamorphosis. So I wasn't really fearful of, you know, Aquarius or not Pluto, you know, conjoining my sun in Aquarius. Like I was ready, you know, and I did, of course, got a little preview of it last year in 2023. But at the same time, it was, you know, I do the work and I am ready to, you know, work through whatever it is that's coming up at the time. And I know my strengths at this point. I know my weaknesses. And so I keep that in mind. And I just, you know, I take it day by day. So it actually was it was like the best birthday I've had in like years. And I think it was because I was talking about astrology with other like astrologers and astrology enthusiasts for like 4 hours.
Yeah. I mean, so, yeah. What better way? There's no better way.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your North Node's in the 7th house of moving away from just being solo on your own working and stepping into like connecting with partnerships and more like collab stuff, which is all about the Pluto and Aquarius too, which is great. And then Pluto being on your moon, a very, very close person in my life, he has Pluto on his moon.
So, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's definitely going through something a little more deeper, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, is his moon in Capricorn or in Aquarius?
It's in Aquarius.
Oh, yeah. That could be, I know a few people that have Aquarius, their moon in Aquarius, and they're feeling, it's not, Pluto hasn't gotten there yet, but they're already feeling the rise of whatever's to come. So yeah, it can be, you know, Pluto can be a really intense sign or planet or energy, you know, for people. And I'll just say, I think what has helped me in the context of, you know, just this transition with Pluto into Aquarius is that before this even happened over the summer last year, I was already working with the unconscious, like my unconscious mind, and really digging into the shadow. I've been doing it via dream work. And so I think that kind of gave me a leg up. So a lot of what probably would be coming up now for me was coming up for me in the summer. And, you know, who's to say that could be from, you know, when Pluto entered Aquarius, then retrograded back into Capricorn. You know, it could have been just all of that coming together. And now it's like, I feel that I'm clearing, you know, a lot in regard to this Pluto transition into Aquarius. So,
yeah. Yes. And also you had a lot of eclipses in your first and I mean, depending on Placidus, I use Placidus, the exact, but like you had eclipses in your 12th, your 1st, your 7th, and your 6th, right?
Yeah.
Right before all this. So, I mean, that's a lot on your unconscious, your work.
Yeah, that's
right.
True.
And how you show up and how you want to be seen in the world and your relationships and stuff like that. So I think that prepared you a lot, right? So you're like, I'm ready for this. And you're rising, you have some Scorpio, you know, Platonic energy. You understand the depth, the psychology, the power, the power that and the knowledge that you bring to the table. And it is about intensity, right? Shadow aspects of this Pluto Scorpio is obsession, right? And
they like to dig
dominant.
and dig and dig.
Yeah, it's kind of like self. What is it? Self masochist or something? Or
like what is it? Masochist. Masochist is.
But like also when I feel like a Scorpio or Plutonian type person loves someone, they put them through the shit, drags them through the dirt a little bit, just to make sure that they're gonna stick around, because their vulnerability is too. Their sensitivity and vulnerability.
Well, it's like once they give it to you,
freaking kill you.
Right? It's like once you have their trust and their loyalty, it's like it's forever.
Yeah.
You know? So before they like give that to you, it's a whole vetting process. It's, I definitely feel that, but I think what happens for me, in my own experience, what works out for me is that I have Venus and Mars conjoined in Pisces. So it gives me, it's funny when I've had readings done in the past before I became an astrologer, but just getting into it, I remember there were two astrologers. They looked at my chart, and it was like they see the Capricorn, the Scorpio, and of course that teeny tiny bit of Aquarius, and then the Venus and Mars and Pisces. And they're like, that's a completely different vibe than what's going on over here with I don't know. So there's definitely a softening with that. And I'm grateful just for astrology and the uniqueness that we get with all of these individual placements, and everyone's birth chart is unique, and we all experience these transits in so many different ways. And while we can pinpoint how this might manifest or what the energy's like and the archetypes and all of that, it's like there are infinite capabilities of how it might manifest. And so it's really hard to say exactly. That's the beauty of it too, because it's experiential, right? Where it's okay, we can rationalize, do the science, see how these are interacting, and then we get to experience that and see how it unfolds, right? So I just love
because it's a rhyme, right?
Right.
It's a rhyme, and it's not exact. So just like Aquarius, we can look back when it was last there during the Revolutionary War. There is a run. It's not going to be the same with the same countries, but there is war happening, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know how long this is going to go on, but there is a revolution. That's Aquarius.
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah.
We're looking for resolve. We're looking for community. Right? I think more people are going to be buying big plots of land and creating their own community. And that's really what this Pluto Aquarius, the next 20 years, there's already been a lot of transformation since 2020, but just imagine the transformation that's coming with this Uranus and Taurus. And when Chiron enters Taurus in 2028, I mean, 2028 might be even a look very kind of like a rhyme from 2020, and so we just have to prepare for that. There's going to be a complete switch probably in our financial, system and stuff like that.
Yeah, hopefully for the better too. I mean, the optimism of Aquarius, I feel that too, where I'm just getting this visual or this vision of the different communities, and even forming their own sort of trade system, or
crypto,
resource and exchange, right? Just to diversify. Yeah. And it's when you have these smaller communities, especially, one of the things I was saying for a while when it comes to Pluto and Aquarius, and just Aquarius in general in this context, is that intentional community is Aquarius energy, right? As I look at the modern ruler of Aquarius, of Saturn, and while there is this eccentric nature of Aquarius and thinking outside the box, there is still this goal or intention of creating a safe space, creating a community. and innovating what we already have. Like, how can we make this better for everyone? How can we all coexist and be in our own uniqueness, also express our own gifts? And I feel that being a bit of, being that in that same spectrum as Leo, right? Being on that same, being counterparts of one another. It's like, how do we all shine within our unique gifts and be of service to each other, right? And so we can do that by creating these communities where we're all supported. Everyone's doing, their roles or stepping into their gifts. And then maybe we can step outside of, like, say when it comes to the financial context, maybe we can step outside of that really rigid structure and create a new structure where, we're doing some sort of trade exchange or, whatever it might be. But I definitely can feel that vibe because it's so needed. Like the evolution, the revolution is so needed at this time.
Yeah. And Aquarius being that water, look at this container. It's holding water. Yeah. What is human physically? Because Saturn is the physical karmic constructs of this physical world. It has its limits. Our body is the limit of our spirit. So it's like this water. Pisces is the spirit, right? So it's like the ocean, but the individual rivers is us. I feel like that's Aquarius because we're physical embodiments of water. We hold water in our bodies. And so being as Aquarius is like the collective, right? It's the humanity as a whole. And it's about with Pluto, there's transformation, transmutation, right? And it's a renewal. It's like a death and a rebirth. And death isn't always easy. And I think we've been going through that as humanity since 2020, but it's even more because what humans have identified with so long would be their 9-to-5 job, right? Like everyone back and it's something that's changing. Money, the paper money is changing. So it's like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Like, people are lost their jobs and there's not a whole lot of jobs, but then they're, everyone's stepping into their gifts, which is amazing. That's the part of this Pluto and Aquarius. Yes, it's scary, but it's all about transmuting that. And it's, everyone should be asking themselves, is my work meaningful? Is it is it in alignment with my values? And am I using my strengths and my gifts and my healing powers to benefit humanity, to make this a better place? And I feel like that's a lot also, just to bridge with you and what you were saying with this Pluto in Aquarius. So it's finding your tribe and finding your gifts and getting in alignment with that and connecting with like your feather, the feather of the
connecting with your feather,
connect with your feather and make progress together. I'm a dork.
Yeah, I'm like, it's with Aquarius too, there's the visionary, aspect of Aquarius and seeing that into the far distant like future. And, as you're talking and I'm like listening and, taking in what you're saying, and I'm just thinking about even the slow transformation, transmutation of Pluto, that's like 20 years, right? Pluto's going to move into Pisces. I think it's like 2043 or something like that. I'm sure it's going to retrograde back into Aquarius at some point, but its first like step into Pisces is 2043. And I'm thinking about myself. I'm like, whoa, because I'll be 40 next year. So then, that's going to be 60, right? So just thinking about these 2 decades, like these next 2 decades, there's so much that's going to happen for sure. And it's like, one of the things I've been connecting and sharing a lot is like, what do you see? You don't even have to think about the whole 20 years. That's a lot. But even for like the next 10 years, like what's your vision for, you know, say yourself, your life, like your legacy, or like you're saying, like how you are of service in the world. You know, if you're someone, if you're in a space where you still have the 9 to 5, or you're just in a job or relationship, you know, whatever it is that just is like, this is what I'm doing. I feel like I need to be doing this. And it's just that whole, it's not meaningful. Right. And so when you're thinking about that and being in that energy, it's like, do you really, just thinking about 10 years from now, do you really want to continue this? Do you see yourself in the same motion 10 years from now, let alone 20 years from now doing the same thing? It's like, no. Like, you know, the universe at this point is like move or be moved, right? There's a lot, like you were saying, over the next couple of years, even that's like really,
I like that, move,
gaining momentum on that revolutionary experience, and the desire, the inspiration to really, you know, step into or move towards what it is that you truly desire for your future and for your legacy. So that's a really big one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like what you said. Move or be removed. Is that what you
said? Move or be moved. I don't know where I heard. Moved. I think it came from something. It was said some other way. Moved but I just always I like to, when there's intense Uranus transits happening, that's like the go-to. Yeah, I'm like, move or be moved. Like
you're gonna move regardless. This is the game of
or just like the universe is like. It's like I don't know if you're familiar with. I don't know if you're familiar. Yeah.
Or the other person's gonna remove you.
Exactly. I don't know if you're familiar with the tarot, but the Tower card, I always get that energy too, move or be moved. Like, it's when I see the Tower card in readings, whether it's for myself or for clients, I'm like, oh, it's already happened. Like, it's whatever foundation or whatever pattern, existing pattern that was just not serving you anymore, it's already been removed. So, you know, let's get in flow. The universe is literally like move or be moved, like, you know, so yeah, I definitely feel that energy right now with all the transitions, especially, you know, as Uranus, you know, will move into Gemini this year, and then there's going to be a trine between Uranus and Pluto, and that's, you know, that's a whole nother conversation.
What about this Jupiter applying to Uranus? It's like, what's that going to be about? Yeah, maybe.
See, and this is the funny thing again, because again, the Scorpio, Pluto in the first house, all of that. The intensity, I'm like,
okay, you want to hear a little bit about Pluto? I have Mars conjunct Pluto exactly in Libra.
Oh my goodness. And wait, in Libra. So, right. And so Mars isn't really that happy in Libra. How is that?
But it's my third house too, you know? So I speak the truth. And when I hear someone speak, I take it very like intensely, you know, every little word.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. But do you feel at times too, because I'm thinking about Libra, do you feel sometimes you say things that, you know, people want to hear? Or like when I think about Libra, it's always like, it's this accommodating energy, and it's always trying to like balance like the me versus the them. And, you know, so it's like, sometimes you'll say what they want to hear, and then it's like kind of a back and forth. And maybe that was something you experienced.
It's the truth that I speak in such a nice, pretty way that it could, if it were another, like being expressed through another zodiac sign, it might scare someone.
Yeah.
Pluto influence.
Yeah.
Like, I just say,
and Mars is very like, literally Mars is like the sword. So it's very like cutthroat in its own way. Yeah. So it's like, you can, I think I can see that with that gentle or peaceful or harmonizing way of Libra. Like, they can say it in a way where you feel it, you get it, it clicks, but then, you know, the intensity or the cutthroat nature of it kind of just like passes by like a breeze, and you're like, oh, all right.
Yeah. Or I'll say something and like the breeze passes by, but then when they're laying in bed at night, they might get the depth of what I was saying.
Right.
You know, like, because it's so prettily packaged And I have that Virgo moon that's like really intuitive, like, because I have Pisces, right? It's very intuitive and it's very analytical. So I could like really know and see assess the situation, the person, what they can tolerate and what they can't. But
I love that though.
There was definitely a part in my journey when I was going through this deep like shadow work and transformation and everything, where I was just like saying, and I think I was exposing too much of what I was getting because I was so open that I was getting a lot and I was sharing, but I think it was like giving people too much and not using my discernment, understanding how much I give. And that's as a healer, a light worker, an astrologer, someone that's helping people through transformation. Like it's good to know what to say and use your discernment and stuff like that. So that's definitely something.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that now that I'm thinking about, your moon in Virgo, Pluto, Mars, and Libra, where it is like with Virgo, they just have this they are the healers of the zodiac. And they just had this natural ability to like see straight through like what is out of balance, essentially. The pain, what's out of balance, like anything like toxic to the system. It's like they have this like very keen insight and even eyesight to see that, so they can really just go right to it. And it's like, let's pull that out. It's like this whole process. I always think too of the detox and just like releasing, getting rid of that so you can flow in harmony. And I just like how just the nature of with Libra, Pluto and Mars and Libra, there's like this really, like you said, there's this intensity of like, for me, it definitely feels like binding, like bringing that energy together. And it can be nurturing with the words and really deep and even subtle, because with Pluto, I definitely see Pluto as like the unconscious everything. Like it's the storehouse for like repressed emotions and just memories. But at the same time with Pluto, I see it also has access to like experiences, information, energy, you can say, from the future, right? So all of that, if you think of time existing all at once, or those experiences existing all at once, it's all contained within Pluto. Like Pluto is the gatekeeper of that. So while you're accessing the repressed trauma, by even doing that, you're able to get to the insight and the guidance and the intelligence that will help you in the transformation too, right? And so then just coming back to like your placements, I see the Pluto and the Mars getting to that depth and helping to restore, through that moon in Virgo. So there's this whole process of restoration. It can come through like your words and your vibrations. And I always also, sorry, and I'll like wrap it up, but I always also see
continue. I love listening.
As like, they're very, like, they're good with their hands. They have the healing hands too. So there's that capacity I see too. So there's something about like, I'm seeing like the words, the actual energy and vibration of what you speak being healing. And then also some capacity of like the physical body and like the touch. So I feel all that. And I just,
you're right. And it took me a while to even like know that about myself, but I do notice a common denominator with anyone that comes into my life that's let's say new, that I meet or is attracted to me in some way, end up going through major shifts and turning points in their life, or had just went through it. It's as though they know that I could help them through the darkest times of their life or something. Or what? Because like it's absolutely it blows my mind. I'm just like, every time I meet someone that wants to like, hang out or talk to me, I'm like, this poor person is probably gonna if they're not going through something, they're going to go through something.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. Yeah. And I just, Pluto is a really interesting force. It's a really interesting Yeah. Yeah.
You.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have Pluto running through your first house.
Mm-hmm.
Do you, or have you experienced throughout your life where like you see kind of the shadow or the darker aspects of people where it's hard to like trust them? Or like where you sometimes like think maybe the worst of someone or the people around you and then it manifests? Is that anything? Or how do you experience
See,
in
this is the interesting thing because again, like I was saying, my Mars is in Pisces. So, and I look at Mars as the ruler of Scorpio, right? I use traditional rulerships. And so, even I guess if I connect it with Pluto as a ruler, that could be one thing as well. But with Mars as, just the steer of my chart, my life direction, and Pisces with Venus, it's like the opposite. But this is interesting because it begins with me seeing like their full potential, the best thing possible, with people. I tend to want to not really pay attention to. Like I see, the heavy stuff, the shadow, but I see the humanity in everybody. I have compassion, which is the Pisces. But specifically in romantic relationships, after a certain period, I have like a 2-year period when they fall from grace. And this is something else that I've had astrologers tell me in the past. It's like you put everyone on a pedestal. And so then they can only come down from there just naturally, right? And so I start seeing it becomes like the opposite where I do then see the shadow and then this thing and then that thing. And that's really hard to see. And it's hard to get, like, once I see that, it's hard to disassociate, right? It's hard to come back to, so that's been something that I have experienced and something that I've had to work through in like relationships for sure.
So it's like the rose-colored glasses effect. Because I have with Neptune in my 5th house. So so yeah, maybe
I have that going on right now.
Maybe you have the Pluto then more in your 12th house. It's
like my little one's in here. Hello.
Hey.
All right, mommy's recording.
Serena. So. You're cute.
Sidori.
Adori?
Sidori, Siduri.
Sidori, I've never heard that name. That's a beautiful name.
Mm-hmm.
Are you done with your nap?
It's a Sumerian name, like an ancient name we looked up. We found.
Oh, very cool. Is this your only?
Yes. Only have the one.
Oh,
hey,
that's
sweetie, perfect. I'm gonna finish recording. Okay, I'll be done here soon. You want to go hang out in Daddy's room? I didn't realize I didn't close that door. I was like, whoops.
I kept seeing you look over. I was like, what's over there? Does she need to go? Right? Is someone calling her?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the major cusps. The Cardinal cross. Pluto on the ascendant for Aquarius risings. Pluto on the descendant for Leo rising. Me.
Yep.
And then Scorpio ascendants would be the IC. And maybe we could talk about that a little bit just to give people an idea. So, I can talk about the DC because it's happening for me. So Pluto for me has been in my 6th house of health and work. So I have been a focus the last 16 years on my health and my work and how it's been transforming. I'm juggling like 2 businesses, one from when I started building when I was 19 and the one I started building like little by little since 2013. And then I launched my astrology website in 2018. And so, so I'm doing these 2 businesses. I do astro paint and sips, just to get this information out in a fun way where I paint a painting for moon cycles. And then I bring it to this wine bar and I host a paint class. And I talk first about the astrology that's happening at the time and my painting and what inspired me to do it. And I encourage people to do whatever they feel that they want to do. That's a Leo. I'm just pulling in all my little things.
Yeah, I love
In
that.
my chart, because I do have a North Node in Leo, so I'm more comfortable in my Aquarian energy, and so I'm stepping into this Leo energy. And so I had went through a lot too, health wise, and I'm like finding where my health is best. So I've eliminated certain habits, right? That's sixth house too. I've eliminated smoking cigarettes in this last 15 years, right? I'm on a more raw vegetarian diet now. No more of the processed foods and the meats and whatever. And so that's Pluto transforming that area of my life. And now it's sitting there, it's going to be in my seventh house soon. But Pluto in the seventh house is just like connecting with partners and people. So whether that's a business partnership, it could be marriage. And let's say if you're already married, this is bringing your relationship deeper, but it can also be where there's more control or abuse or obsession in your relationship. So I think Leo risings need to be very mindful of who they're allowing into their life and to use their discernment and balancing also their needs with the needs of others. So if you're feeling like you're being overtaken or you're being controlled or you're being gaslighting, manipulation can be found there in your relationships. And I feel that a lot of people that have went through divorce had maybe Pluto coming out of their house, I've noticed. Either Pluto was in their seventh house or out of their seventh, into their eighth house, So because Pluto's just peeking in there, I could see Leos getting that marriage, and if they can get through some of the depth of being in a relationship, because it will bring up a lot of Leo's shadows. Let's be honest, rising Leos have Scorpio in the fourth house, so they've been through a lot of trauma, and they have kind of had the darker aspects of childhood. That's why they're so light. That's why, like I've had the worst happen. And so, just life itself on my own is so much easier, as Leos. And so I think like being in a partnership, a relationship is going to really show some of those shadow aspects and the fears around relationships and being committed, right? Like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I can definitely see too, like lovers coming back from the past, or even if say it's not someone you've met, but like the past life, kind of connections. That was like, I mean, it could even be, friends, any type of connection coming through could be something like revisiting some sort of like relationship from the past, but like the distant past. Like you feel like you've known each other for lifetimes. I could definitely see that coming through too for Pluto transiting through the seventh house for sure.
Is there anything you want to talk about as far as do you want to talk about the maybe the rising Aquarius Pluto in the first or Pluto in the fourth, because you're a rising?
Yeah, I can definitely talk about Pluto in the fourth. So Pluto in the fourth house, I'm definitely getting that experience right now. And that essentially is what I'm getting with Pluto in the fourth, if I'm considering this unconscious energy being illuminated by Pluto transiting through this area of life. There is, just anything kind of going on behind the scenes, subtly, maybe on like some sort of auto programming, in reference, of course, to like your home, your private life living situation, family. And what's really, you know, just been coming up for me personally is that ancestor connection, right? And that's something I don't always go to with the fourth house, right? I'm looking at family, I'm looking at the private life, I'm looking at, you know, mother and father, right? So you might be having, you know, seeing that transformation or things coming up for your parents. And I'm definitely seeing that with my parents, with my mother specifically. And then I'm also I've been connecting or learning stories about my great and great grandmother. Wow. And it's just like naturally, I'm not seeking it. It was just a cousin from a distant cousin sent my mother a picture of my great great grandmother, my great grandmother, and my grandmother when my grandmother was like a toddler. And that opened up, you know, an array of stories that my mom shared with me. And I never knew anything about my great grandmother. And that was like a couple days before Pluto moved into Aquarius. And now I'm just so very curious about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
to know your past is
right. To even have like pictures. Cause I mean, this is from like the 1920s, 1930s. So like to even have pictures that have survived since then, you know? So that's something I think any kind of dealings with homes. And another example, this happened when Pluto entered Aquarius back last year in March. We learned that my great grandmother's house, and this is in Mississippi, her house, she had two properties. They had the big house and they had a store behind the big house. Mm-hmm. Well, we learned that my grandmother sold the big house, and my grandmother passed away like 20 years ago. She must have thought the big house and the little house were just all one property, but they weren't. So we learned that the guy that has the big house is basically illegally renting out the smaller house. And he actually claimed on legal documents that he's the caretaker of my great grandmother who's passed away in the 90s. What? And this is like recent. We've discovered all of this. Yes.
What?
So basically,
that's your guys' house.
Yes. So yeah, and he's been saying that my great grandmother who passed away in the 90s is living with him at his house. Like this is just on paper. Wow. And this came out of the dark in around like March, the spring of last year.
That's so Pluto. So yeah, Pluto is the god of the underworld,
like the shadow,
and it's like dredging things up. It's like digging in the past for stuff.
And the guy is like, he's the retired dean of the university out there. Like it's a lot. So I'm going to be dealing with that. That's
and you're learning so much that about your dealing history.
With. Yeah. And we're going to reclaim that property. So this is something that, you know, with Pluto, it's the upheaval essentially, or the illumination of things happening in the dark, right? So things that you don't even know that's happening, that will come to light. And again, with that fourth house, it's family, it's, you know, the home, the grandparents, ancestral connections, your living situation, what you're doing in your privacy. Maybe it's dealing with family that's going on in the privacy that comes out of the dark, right? And so I really, I feel that energy pretty strongly for Pluto transitioning through that part of the chart.
Great. Thank you for sharing. That's so crazy. Crazy. Astrology don't lie.
It does not. Girl, you cannot make this up. It's like the timing. It's like it was happening and then boom, Pluto moves and it's like, whoa.
Yeah. So what do you
How long has this been going on?
Well, what do you think is going to happen in September? I think what is it? September 9th, it's going to dip back in Cap around September.
Oh yeah, it's September.
And then it will go back into 0 degrees Aquarius. But these retrogrades are kind of like, you know, Mercury. How it's like a 3-time thing. It's like going back. It's like giving us breath and time to digest it, because you know, they always say God doesn't give you everything all at once. God gives you in pieces, so you're not being like, oh my God, you know. So I feel like we're getting our little toes wet each time, and we have one last time this summer, and then You know,
Yeah.
it's only going to be in there for a month, I think, a month and a half or something like that.
Yeah, it's not gonna be too long.
There for the next.
Yeah. And I guess I could speak on Pluto in the first house in Aquarius. Like if you're Aquarius rising, I have a friend um who has an Aquarius rising, and she's sudden change already, like sudden upheaval, things going on in the dark. And um yeah, I looked at her chart last year, and you know, my first impression, if you're thinking about, I tend to look at the first house of, it's the house of self, right? And more so, I look at it, it's the archetype that you're becoming. And it's really interesting, you know, in your case, you're a Leo sun and a Leo rising. So you already have, in a sense, you already embody this quality of Leo really well. And there's new qualities of Leo that you're stepping into, like say in this lifetime, if you're looking at it from that context. And so I tend to, you know, always look at the rising sign from the perspective of like, this is who you're becoming. This is the dawning of your identity, the dawning of how you know, just like physically see yourself and move through the world essentially, and the characteristics you embody or seek to embody. And so I feel with Pluto and Aquarius moving through that first house, it's like everything that you know about yourself, or like basically that identity you had, is completely shedding, right? It's completely being transformed or integrated, however you want to look at it. And you are, it's again, one of those move or be moved, where you are being pushed almost to step into this higher, you know, deeper essence of who it is that you are, right? And so those, again, those elements of yourself that are just not, you know, they're not meaningful, they're just, it's time for change. Anything that you've been holding on to is really, you know, it's being transformed, and you're moving through that essentially. And so it's literally like the death of the identity. And you know, it can be quite shocking for people that, you know, if you don't have a heads up about it, if you're not prepared for that, it's, you know, there are things that are going to come out of the shadows. And I'm thinking of a friend specifically where, you know, I'm not going to give her story because it's really intense. But she's really going through it, and it's like, you know, two very important partnerships in her life, it's like the door is closing, like they're there, but she, like, the dependency that's on both of these partnerships, it's like completely like severed almost, right? And the focus is on her, like just who she is and coming into that, right? You have to do it, right? And so there is, yeah, this process of like, literally the life, death, and the rebirth, where it's like, I'm hanging on to this. I don't want this part of myself to die, or even the relationships, right? And so, but it's like, I have to focus my energy into myself in this process of metamorphosis. So it's a deep change of like the identity and just how you see yourself, and how, you know, the qualities and the attributes of the self.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy, because I know someone that had, you know, has Pluto going through the 12th, and they have been in a partnership, you know, for a very long time, like a long time, as long as a Pluto transit, right? And
yep, it's same, yep.
Leaving this relationship and jumping into something else. But yeah, as a reader, you know, as what I see, I'm like, okay, well, don't jump from one to another thinking you're going to have that exact stability that you had before.
Yeah.
And because to be okay with being alone, because it's not, there's nothing
literally
when, when you move from one relationship to another, because something that has sustained that long will sustain if you both agree, right? Be lucky if something lasts that long. But
like you're evolving,
when
and
your
you're
contract is over, and you're not evolving and you're not growing, and it's in your soul's destiny to learn to be your own and not codependent, be independent, then this is the time. You can't hold on because you're not finding happiness there anymore. right?
Yeah.
So if you're not evolving, you're not growing, then you're not experiencing life, because what I always say is flowing river never dies. So if you just got to keep on moving, if you're stagnant still, you die. Like there's nothing. So it's exciting time for these people's lives that are, you know, the Pluto's jumping into their first house, and an exciting time for the lonely Leos with Pluto hopping into their seventh house. And, you know, for those rising Scorpios, you know, you're finding a lot more about yourself through your roots and your home and what makes you feel nurtured, and the women and the mothers from life, the women, the feminine energy line, and like what, because things are carried down energetically through our genetics or DNA. And it's like you're here and you're learning about a piece of you, a piece of your soul. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And then Pluto that's coming up into someone's 10th house, you know, they've probably went through a lot of learning about what to them is their belief, you know, because when we have identified so much with something that we've done, let's say a career, and you know this career is no longer serving you, and you're going to go through this huge transformation of career. Maybe you were a CEO of a major corporation. Maybe you worked for some pharmaceuticals and your values have changed. And then you decide, you know what, I'm going to open up my own wellness, you know, holistic Ayurvedic healing center, right? And you're going to do the complete opposite. That's Pluto in the 10th house, and also, you know, dredging things up from the past too. I mean, you could even see, oh my God, I've been working for this company that's been intentionally murdering people, you know, or hurting people. And it's like, I gotta get out. And then you just completely have a change of career. I don't know. We'll
and that's really interesting too, because if Pluto's in Aquarius in the 10th house, that's a Taurus rising chart.
All about money.
And Taurus, you know, they are the most grounded sign of the zodiac. Like they're fixed, they're good. They find their thing and they're working it. It's like, why do I need to change? Like, this is good. Like, why fix something if it's not broken?
I have my house, I got my car, I got all my goods, mine.
Yeah. It's a complete transition and upheaval that's necessary. But I feel that in each area of life, there is something there that, you know, like you feel it on a subconscious level of something that is like, I need to release this, or this little thing is not working anymore. But we get so fixed in, I guess, the comfort, the quote unquote stability of whatever the said situation is. And so 9 times out of 10, I mean, yes, Pluto's going to hit you with, oh my goodness, this just came out of nowhere. But it's also going to hit that thing where it's like, oh yeah, I do need to kind of end this relationship and finally, again, just move on, right? And, or with work, right? Like, yeah, this job pays really well and it's good, but I kind of feel like I should be doing something that's more meaningful or deeper, or just something completely different. I've been doing this for so long, right? It could be a whole, like you said, a whole Pluto cycle. And so that Pluto transition is just, it's going to be major, and it's going to be so helpful. It's going to be hard. The thing with Pluto, I've noticed, and I like to correlate Pluto to the dream space, or just, I feel that unconscious energy of Pluto when I'm connecting through dreams, because through dreams, you are literally connecting with your unconscious self. And when I started my dream work journey, I was like, yeah, I'm going to tap into like the psychic dreaming, and I just want to get to the intelligence and heal myself and like find out all these divine messages. And literally I was dragged through the shadow, and I started my dream journey, my dream work journey. And then 2 weeks into it, I was like, nope, I got to wait. I got to stop. And I came back to it when I felt grounded and ready. But that's the thing with Pluto. It's going to drag you through the shadow. You're going to face those fears. Like you're going to, there's no getting out of it. It's time. And, you know, at the end of it all, it will be a beautiful metamorphosis at the end. Like it's not easy, but it'll be worthwhile, right? Worth the experience. So that rebirth and renewal is just, it'll be good.
Yeah. For all of us fixed signs, we're going through it.
Right?
Yeah. It's all about evolving, getting out of our comfort zone and learning how to let go.
Yeah. Big fixed sign lesson.
Yeah, it is. And it's good for us, as painful as it might be.
Yeah.
But well, it was very nice chatting with you. I know you have to go, and we can do this again. I'd love to stay connected with you.
Absolutely.
For my audience, go ahead and just let them know where they can find you, maybe your YouTube, and
yeah. So you can find me here on YouTube, Urania Universe. That's URANIA Universe. And then I'm probably the most active on Instagram, or you can directly connect with me. I'm open to messages and everything through my Instagram, and that's at Urania_universe. And then my website is uraniauniverse.com. So many ways to connect.
Thank you so much.
And what about you? Because this will be on my channel too.
I am Lucid Living Coach on Instagram. My name's Karina Aragon, and my website is www.lucidlivingmovement.com. And is that it? Yeah, right?
Yeah. On YouTube, you're Lucid Living on YouTube.
Yeah, Lucid Living Movement, I guess.
Movement. Okay, cool.
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that'll be in the info.
You do lives on YouTube or Instagram or both?
Both. I haven't done one live on YouTube for a while, but I do both. I'm pretty regular with the YouTube or the Instagram lives.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So maybe our next one could be live.
Yeah, let's do it.
We had our intention set on a live for the new moon in Aquarius, which is happening this week on the 9th.
Yeah, we did.
Friday. Yeah. Right? Friday the 9th. And this is going to be your new moon. So happy new moon.
I'm excited. It's going to be a good one.
One new moon and one full moon each year. Unless it's a blue moon.
Right. Gotta throw that in there.
Very nice meeting you, and thank you for joining the video. And I think there's more to come, as Pluto is now in Aquarius, and we're learning how to come together with like-minded people and our communities, and connecting. The ocean wave of deep emotion.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Physical energy. Because Taurus is that physical. Have energy, right?